What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by two of the greats in this industry, Jurg and Dame. Fellas, how are we this week?
As always, I'm doing good up here in Bristol, CT, trying to get things heated up here in what should be a nice episode before the cold hits us the next few days. Because, oh dear God, boys, it's going to be as cold as like 2 degrees during the weekend. Help me, please. Help.
I'm doing good. 1 day away from a 3-day weekend, so that's cool. I get to now work in this cold and the big storm that's coming on Monday. So
Lucky you.
1 day closer to weekend. So yeah,
There's a storm coming on Monday?
yeah.
Oh, all right. Yeah, well, in New York, the weather's hitting. The weather's hitting. We're getting to the nitty grits of seasonal depression, which I'm pretty sure a lot of our viewers, if
I already
any,
have that.
can. Yep. All right. Well, thanks for confirming, Dame. But you know who's gonna have to deal with the cold? Josh Allen and Mac Jones in that 10-degree weather that's gonna occur on Saturday night in Buffalo. But we'll talk about that as we, you know, get to that segment. But yeah, spoiler, we're gonna be talking about the playoffs because they're here. That's right. Guys, the NFL playoffs are officially here. We're recording on Thursday. NFL playoffs start Saturday. This will probably drop tomorrow on Friday. So yeah, we're gonna be predicting the first round. It's wild card weekend essentially, but yeah, first round NFL, AFC, NFC. Guys, I think I speak for all of us. We're excited as hell. But in addition to playoff predictions, we're also going to be talking about some firings. That's right. A bunch of coaches have been fired the last few days, so we're going to be talking about that as well. Purely NFL dominated episode this week. Gentlemen, I'm excited. Are you? Can we get to this? Are we good? Should we get to it? Guns
Let's get
blazing?
let's get it
Yes,
going.
sir.
All right. Now, we'll start off with the coaching firings that have occurred the last few days. And let's, I'll just go in the order of what Jurg texted me. So we'll go with the Denver Broncos. Gentlemen, it's official. The Broncos have fired Vic Fangio. He's gone. Let me start off with Jurg. Jurg, what did you make of this firing? Who could you see the Broncos targeting? It's kind of that's kind of like a vague question because I guess you could apply this question to all the teams that have fired their coaches. But is there any specific team based on how you see the Broncos, a specific coach fitting with the Broncos based on how you see them?
It's really weird because I think with the Broncos, they need to completely overhaul something with the offensive scheme there. The thing with Fangio, unlike a lot, so the thing with Fangio, he was like very much like an old school minded coach, very defensively oriented. But unlike a lot of these guys, like he's not necessarily hard nosed. I don't think he was a terrible coach. That team was just never going to succeed with him, and I think part of the problem was ultimately the quarterback position there. Like just there was never consistency there. Good old Teddy Two Gloves. Teddy Bridgewater can only do so much for you, and if the team isn't that good, like it's just not going to perform well. And of course, Drew Lock for a majority of the time. I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two other random QBs they've had during his tenure. Case Keenum, I think, may have been the backup a year or two ago. I don't even remember at this point. But yeah, I just don't think it was ever going to be successful because just offensively, they weren't good enough. I don't know if it was his coordinator choices or the scheme or what. Just I don't think that offense was ever going to be able, which is a shame because I think there are some good pieces on there going into next season if they retain Melvin Gordon. Javonte Williams had a good rookie season. Cortland Sutton is the number one receiver. Noah Fant, I think, is an underrated tight end. You got some pieces on that offense. You can make some work. You can make work, but you need a quarterback and you need a coach. And if you're asking me, just generally, like I think what teams tend to do, they tend to go the opposite of the coach they just fired. So they just fired the old school coach. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Denver tries to go for one of these young offensive play callers, somewhere. Who it could be. I don't necessarily have names off the top of my head at this moment, but you never know. I wouldn't be surprised if they just take like the guy that did Zach. If they take the guy and hire whoever did Sean McVay's laundry because it feels like for a while if you just had a cup of coffee with McVay you were going to get a head coaching interview. So maybe they hire someone like that, but we'll see. Like time will tell. But whoever the next head coach is, like there's one task in mind: find the next quarterback because I think we can all confirm Drew Lock is not it, and Teddy Bridgewater is at this point a stopgap at best.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I never thought Vic Fangio was ever going to be a long-term coach there. I think he was kind of just a hire because they couldn't find anyone better. I'm always been saying that I'm just an advocate for like offensive minded head coaches, and just Vic Fangio wasn't that. So it was eventually gonna happen when it was his time to go. As for a potential candidate, I don't really have anyone in mind, but like I just stated, like I think they should definitely go an offensive minded head coach. Like they clearly have all these weapons on offense. Like they have the running back, whether they bring back Melvin Gordon or not. They do have Devontae Williams, who's an absolute stud. They have Noah Fan at tight end. They have Judy Sutton and Tim Patrick at wide receiver with KJ Hamler coming back off of torn ACL. So they have all the pieces there, and they have a solid defense as well. So this is a well-rounded team from top to bottom. Is just the only thing missing is the quarterback. Like if they get a quarterback, one of these veteran quarterbacks that might be available this offseason, this could be a very, very dangerous team, and it could even challenge the Chiefs, in my opinion. So, like the quarterbacks that they could possibly get, it could be a Aaron Rodgers, they could get Deshaun Watson, they could get Russell Wilson if he becomes available. Like all these guys could become available this offseason, and if I'm the Broncos, I'm giving up whatever I need to, any kind of draft picks I need to get one of these guys because they truly are a quarterback away from being a true title contender, in my opinion. It's kind of similar to when they got Peyton Manning. Like they were really close, but they just needed that quarterback, and they got Peyton Manning. Boom, they went to 2 Super Bowls and won one. So I think it's a very similar situation to what they have now. Um, I don't know. I don't have a prediction who I think is going to go there, but I know quarterbacks have been rumored to want to go there. I know Deshaun Watson put one of his teams is there, and I've seen a rumor that Aaron Rodgers would be okay with playing there. So I know these quarterbacks would want to play there. It's just about what the Broncos could give up, and if at the end of the day they can make it happen. But as for the coaching thing, like I said, I think they have to bring an offensive minded head coach, especially if they bring in a new quarterback.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Solid takes there, fellas. And let's move on over to a team that I think is kind of in a similar position in the way that they have some pieces in which you could like kind of build on. Um, they're kind of like ready now if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, Mike Zimmer has been fired. They have Kirk Cousins, who, polarizing figure, but I do think Kirk Cousins is good enough. I hate saying that to like, he's a good enough quarterback, but they have some really good, pieces on offense in Dalvin Cook. Then you have Justin Jefferson, and I think Adam Thielen is also there. So they have some pretty decent off. I mean, they have some really good offensive players there. So Dame, let me start off with you on this one. What do you think about this coaching vacancy for the Vikings? Do you see them in a kind of a similar position as like the Denver Broncos, where you could see like a more offensively minded coach fitting better for them because they have the pieces?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a similar situation because I do think Kirk Cousins is going to be there for another year or two because they like you said they're talented enough on that roster where I don't think they're going to have a high enough draft pick to draft a new quarterback, and I don't think they're going to be in the market for any of these like superstar quarterbacks, like say a Rodgers or a Watson. I don't think they'll be in the market for that because I don't think either one of them want to play there. Like I know maybe Aaron Rodgers want to play it to get revenge on Green Bay, but I just don't think he'd want to follow Brett Favre's footsteps exactly how he did it. So I think that'd play a factor in it. And Deshaun Watson, I just don't think he'd want to play in Minnesota. So I think for them with the quarterback situation, it'd have to go to the draft. And like I said, like I don't think they're bad enough to have a high enough pick to get a draft to get one of the top quarterbacks. So I think they're kind of stuck where they are right now with Kirk Cousins, and so they just move on from him. And then a season or two after that, they can have a high enough pick. But as of right now, I think I was actually surprised with the Mike Zimmer firing. I didn't think he'd be fired because I think he was a pretty good head coach, but I just feel like he didn't relate to his players enough. You saw in the press conference after the last game where Justin Jefferson needed like 14 yards in the fourth quarter to get the season franchise record for receiving yards in a season. And they asked him about it if he knew about it. He's like, "Yeah, I knew about it. I just didn't care or whatever." But like you're clearly out the playoffs. You're not playing for anything. Like, get your young second year superstar receiver his record. Like he's so close. Like when you get this close to a record, like I know a lot of players say they don't care about it, this and that, but especially when you're not in playoff contention, you're kind of just playing just to play. Just like you want to get that record, you want to be known in history for, say, for example with this, being the single season record holder for receiving yards for the Minnesota Vikings, breaking Randy Moss's record, and we all know Randy Moss is an all-time great, arguably the greatest wide receiver in NFL history. So I think that's a reason why he got fired because he just didn't relate to his young players. So I think obviously the whole league is trending towards these offensive minded head coaches, but I just don't think it's as necessary for them as it is for the Broncos because of the quarterback situation, and how close they really are. So I just think they need to bring a guy that's really kind of a player's coach and can relate to these players.
Yeah, I agree there. I think with Minnesota, the offense is already naturally set. You just have to not screw it up, right? Like you don't need. I don't think they necessarily need an offensive minded coach. They just need a guy that will make the right like offensive coordinator hire, in fill out the offensive staff the way it needs to be filled out, so the success with the organization can continue and maybe even become more dynamic. Because I think Minnesota, for as good as the offensive talent is, I think they could probably even at least some of these guys can reach a whole other level. So that remains to be seen with the firing. I wasn't really surprised personally at the end of the day. Like I had said this a couple weeks ago when we did our predictions, I always felt that this was going to be Mike Zimmer's last year. Like, yes, he had success there. He made the playoffs a good amount of times. I want to say at least half the seasons he was the head coach, they made the playoffs. I think they won the NFC North once or twice. Like, yes, relatively speaking, that's pretty successful. But at some point, there needs to be that next step. Like, you can't just get there time after time and be okay with it. There needs to be progression. And they made it to one NFC championship game, and from memory, they got slaughtered by the Eagles. So, like, just not good things when it comes to the late years of his tenure, especially kind of like Dame said, the players just stop responding to him. And when you have a coach like Mike Zimmer, when the players just stop responding to you, that's it. You've lost the locker room, and nothing you can say or do is going to end up making a difference. Again, yeah, he wasn't a bad coach, so all due respect to him, he was easily the most successful coach that this organization has had since Bud Grant. But it was just time for it's just time for new blood in there, and sometimes that's all teams need. And I think Dame says the right thing. I think you just need a guy that it'll still be tough a bit on the players, because I think they are. I think that locker room would be fine with someone who will challenge them, but more closely relatable to the guys. And just Mike Zimmer isn't that anymore in today's game. So yeah.
Beautifully said, Jurg. I'm gonna stick with you. Uh, the Bears seem to be going through like a complete rehaul because I do believe they fired their GM as well, if I'm not
Thank God,
mistaken.
yes, thank God.
Yeah, so Jurg's boy Matt Nagy is also gone.
Oh,
Jurg, thoughts, comments, criticisms, concerns?
my heart was broken. I tried.
Yeah,
I tried to reach out to Matt Nagy, close personal friend. I've only ever sung his praises on any other platform I've
I
ever
mean
been on.
him and Urban Meyer, Jurg's, the brothers. But I mean, this
Of
has got
course.
to be interesting, right? Because you also, I guess it would be like for a new head coach to see that you have like a young quarterback in Justin Fields. It's got to be enticing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So first off, Matt Nagy should have been goddamn fired after that Justin Fields debut game where the kid was not allowed any room to breathe. Like Justin Fields literally was a animal sent to the slaughterhouse in his first start, and Matt Nagy and that coaching staff and that quote unquote offensive game plan, if you even want to call it, did him no favors. It was just a train wreck. Like I feel bad that his kids had to deal with the fact that at their high school games that they were chanting "Fire Nagy," but I don't feel bad for Matt Nagy because yes, it became that bad. Um, yeah, this was the right decision at the end of the day. I like it whenever these coaches finally get fired. They're like, oh, they made the playoffs twice with him. They won the NFC North at one point. So what? That was years ago. What have you done for me lately? And Matt Nagy has accomplished nothing. He's made now two franchise quarterbacks that this organization has selected with top tier picks. Mitch Trubisky with the third overall pick, and now Justin Fields with whatever his pick. And granted, I am no Mitch Trubisky fan, but considering how bad it's looked, like I almost have to wonder if like Kyle Shanahan had Mitch Trubisky, if Trubisky would at least look relatively decent. But that's a conversation for another time. Like I said, still not a Mitch guy, but no,
Ah,
man.
you are.
Yeah, totally, just like Matt Nagy. But at the end of the day, like, just it was the right decision for the Bears. More than anything, it's good that they got the GM out of here. Pace is a bum. Pace, this is the same dude that gave Mike Lennon $18 million and then traded up to the second overall pick to draft Mitch Trubisky. I misspoke when I said third overall. The Bears had the third overall pick. They traded up to the second overall pick. You want to know who they traded with? The San Francisco 49ers, who had already traded for Jimmy G. They weren't going to take Trubisky. You goddamn idiot. You idiot, man. So yes, very, very happy that at least Ryan Pace is out. And Matt Nagy, yeah, just the time came. Again, I don't have like a specific coach for Chicago, but just I think Dame, I think will agree with this. Like I think they needed an offensive coach here just to help cleanse Justin Fields of what was just the atrocity of this season.
Oh, and by the way, just to let the listeners know as well, I believe the Bears also don't have their first round pick this year. It goes to the Giants.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Nice. Even better. Okay. Dame, go ahead.
Which, since you mentioned that, it doesn't make that GM job that enticing. So when you don't have a draft pick, and the quarterback kind of struggle that first year, it doesn't make the job just as enticing as, say, the Giants job, where you have 2 draft picks, you have all this cap space. So that's just something to look out for. I don't know if they're going to get top candidate because of that at the GM spot. As it goes for the head coaching job, I think we all saw this coming. We all saw this coming since probably last year, to be honest. It's probably a whole year overdue. But obviously, Matt Nagy is not a good coach. He shouldn't have lasted this long in the first place. He screwed up this entire QB situation the first year. Like, from the second he said Andy Dalton's going to be starting no matter what. Then they traded a first-round pick to get Justin Fields, and you don't play him to start the year, and you say, yeah, Andy Dalton's the starter, Andy Dalton's the starter, and then you play him because Andy Dalton got hurt, and then you go back to Andy Dalton, then you go to Nick Foles, and you go to Justin Fields, and you keep flip-flopping and not setting a starter for the future. So I think that's where you're messed up. Like, you'd rather die with the guy you gave a extra first round pick for, and you drafted the guy in the top 15 of the draft. So I think that's what you should have done. Maybe that would have helped his job. If not, but hopefully this didn't screw up Justin Fields' development going forward. Because obviously the next head coach, whoever it is, I do agree with Jurg. I think it should be also a young offensive-minded head coach that can really tap into all Justin Fields' potential. I'm sure Ryan Day from Ohio State is going to be a candidate for his job since he coached Justin Fields and he's very high on him. But I don't think he's going to leave Ohio State. Other than that, I don't have any specific candidates, but I'm sure they're going to hire a guy that's very high on the offensive minded tree and can really work with Justin Fields well.
Well, speaking of the Giants, another team that went through a complete I don't know, like elimination of just they cleaned house to put it
In
clearly.
such a weird way.
That's a good word. Elimination is a really good word.
Yeah, I was gonna say elimination chamber jerk, but it didn't make sense. But well, maybe there's some WWE fans out there that is watching that they get the reference. But yeah, they went through. They cleaned house. Because I think Gettleman is gone.
Gettleman retired. They didn't even fire him. He just said, "I had enough of this. I'm not gonna let you guys fire me."
Yeah, I think they'll say that. Yeah, but I think he avoided that by saying, "You know what? I'll just step down."
I'm sure he just like, you guys aren't gonna fire me. I'm just gonna retire myself.
Yeah, very weird, very weird. But yeah, Gettleman quote unquote retires. Joe Judge gets canned. Gentlemen, me and Damien are friends. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jurg too, but I guess I'll speak for me and Damien the most because we're in the similar group chats. But it's just one. I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, we know a lot of Giants fans, and you see it on Twitter. They're ecstatic that this happened. I always gave Joe Judge the benefit of the doubt. I'm just like, he can't be that bad of a coach. But I just think because like the Giants are kind of like such a mess right now. I don't know if he's given the fair hand, but then again, you look at that 3rd and 9 play. It speaks for itself at this point. But then again, you just see they needed a whole rehaul. They needed to get rid of everything. They needed to start over. So the Giants start over. Now, you could make the argument because it's the Giants, it's the number 1 New York team, even though the other New York team seems to be a little bit more stable, but what do I know? This could be enticing because it's the number 1 New York team in football. I mean, Bills, of course, but, all right. Let's be honest here. But, yeah, Giants are open for business. Could be the most enticing job because of the market. But, of course, what do I know? I'm going to leave it to you two fellas. Who did I start off with last time? Oh, I mean, Damien. Yeah, we'll take it off with you. All right, talk to me, bud. As an unbiased New Yorker who's also a Jets fan, what do you make of the Giants' position right now? What do you make of the firing? Joe Judge, was he dealt a fair hand or not? But let me know. What do you think?
I like I said, I think it was very weird how it went down with the whole David Gettleman retiring, and then at first the Giants had a meeting and they said Joe Judge was staying, and then the next day I guess they saw the fan backlash and the media backlash, and then they fired him. So it's very weird how that whole situation went down. I think they felt a lot of pressure after they said that he was staying to then fire him the day after. So it's very weird how that went down. But as for the whole Giants situation, I think they have the worst situation in football, like from roster wise to just culture wise. But as for a GM, like if I was a GM, I do think this is an enticing job because you are starting from the bottom and you don't have that many expectations. Yet you have a lot of assets to work with to kind of retool and rebuild this team. You have you have the 2 first-round picks, 2 top 10. I think it's like 5 and 8 or something like that. You have a ton of cap space. You could hire your own head coach. Daniel Jones clearly isn't the answer, but you could try to convince yourself that he is and try to ride with him for another year, or you could just trade him away and try to get any kind of value that you can. Um, obviously, I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback this year. I think they're just going to ride with Daniel Jones because this quarterback draft just isn't that.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. And obviously, it's a tough year to have 2 first-round picks, 2 top 10 picks when you need a quarterback and the quarterbacks suck. So I don't know if they're gonna use it. I personally hope they do, just so they mess it up. But I don't think they will. I think they'll wait till next year, where they're probably not gonna be a good team. They're probably gonna be vying for the number 1 overall pick, and say a guy like Bryce Young from Alabama is gonna be
Oh,
available.
that would suck if he goes to the Giants.
It's gonna be so tough if he does go to the Giants. That's why I hope they draft a quarterback this year. But that's good. That would be the way I'd be looking at if I was a GM. I'd use these first 2 draft picks to kind of improve the roster elsewhere, and then you got to tank. You got to tank. You got to tank. Get your quarterback. You got to do it. So overall, although I do think it's kind of the worst like culture fit in the entire NFL, I think the GM opening personally is very enticing. As for the head coaching job, I don't think they should go. They should go like the super hot candidate, the offensive minded guy. I think they should go for an old established guy that can set the culture for the Giants. It's kind of like what the Jets did with Robert Saleh. Like I personally didn't like it. As for the future, I don't think he's going to be the head coach when the Jets become successful, because the league is trending in the offensive direction. Like I said, he's just not that guy. But when it came to turning around the culture and turning around this whole losing culture that the Jets had, like Robert Saleh got it done. Like has these players playing hard. He has them all buying into his system and his swagger and all that stuff. So that's kind of the thing I think the Giants need to do. I don't know the exact candidates for that. I can't name one off the top of my head, but I think that's something that they need to do first before they go with that young offensive coach that could take them to the next level. They still don't have a quarterback, obviously. So especially if you're not drafting quarterback, you shouldn't you shouldn't hire an offensive coach that you think is going to take you to the future.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm the Giants, I might as well just. You talk about getting the guy who could keep the locker room together. You might as well just call up Detroit and see if they'll let you take Dan Campbell away from them. Buy out that
Honestly, not a
contract.
bad,
Well, I think even Detroit knows enough to keep him. I'm kind of with Dane here. Like, I don't think there's a point of hiring an offensive mind right now, because just what offense is there to build around? Like, there's nothing.
That's a good point, Jurg. I hate to cut you off, but like,
Yeah, you're good.
it's so weird because the Giants and they spent a lot of money last offseason. You have Kenny Galladay, who fact check someone received no touchdown passes.
Correct.
Okay. You have Saquon Barkley, and Barkley's a little weird because is Barkley in a contract here? What's go with his status?
I think if memory serves, this is the 4th year. He's going into year 4, I think, and then there's the 5th-year option. Or was this?
I think they picked up his. I'm not sure if they picked up his option. They probably did, honestly. And he just he's playing on a contract here. He's the same thing as Sam Darnold. When he got traded, the Panthers picked up his option. It says Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, they're all in the same class. So
all right, okay, so yeah, like you have him, you have Shepard, you have Galladay. It's weird because I don't think the Giants are bad enough to tank because they have some pieces there. They've always been like a middle of the pack type of team, which is the worst place to be in. But I don't know, Jurg. Talk to me through. Like I don't know what they could do because it's the Giants, right? There's pressure to win for immediate success, but also like there's also the Daniel Jones dilemma. Talk to me. What do you think they should do?
So real quick, actually, this was Saquon Barkley's 4th year, so he's actually presently on his 5th-year option. So I wanted to clarify that. Man, what should they do? Honestly, if this was me and I got to be hired as the GM and John Mara told me straight up, I will let you make whatever decisions you want these first 2 to 3 years. It's all yours. No repercussions. I'm blowing up this entire team to King the Khan back if I can. I'm not even joking. I'm not even freaking joking. Because Daniel Jones to me is useless. I would honestly look for a veteran quarterback to. I would call the Jets and try to get Mike White as quickly as I can in this locker
Damn.
room. I would
Take him, please,
trade.
please, please. There's two. Please take him, please. I have too many
Dame,
of my
why?
friends. Well, no, I have one specific friend
Name
that thinks
names.
he's a superstar quarterback in the franchise court. Ryan Rodriguez. He thinks that Mike White is the answer for the Jets, and he's better than Zach Wilson. So please, please take him off my team for any kind of value I can get. Because I went to the Jets-Bills game, and I saw in first person with my own eyes how absolutely horrific this guy is at playing the quarterback position. So if anyone could take him, please do.
Okay, so I got you, Dave. This would be my game plan, step by step by step. I would get Mike White. I would either trade or cut Saquon Barkley, preferably trade him. Or cut him, because the thing with fifth-year options is that they have no guaranteed money on them until a specific date of the new league year.
There
So
should be a
technically-
market for him, though. I feel like there's.
I think there will be, just because it's 1 year, but how much will you get it for a injury-prone running back? That's the thing. This isn't offensive rookie of the year Saquon Barkley anymore. This is guy who's gotten hurt every single year of his career, Saquon Barkley. When you look back at it, former number 2 overall pick, and I'm a running back guy, and looking back, I never even liked that selection for him. The wide receiving core, all due respect, Darius Slayton, I think, is fine. Kadarius Toney, I wasn't really that big of a fan of him coming out anyways, I think, as most people would remember for our mock draft and stuff. I wasn't a fan. I would trade Sterling Shepard. I think you could get great value back from him, probably a 3rd-round pick from the right team. Kenny Galladay, you just have to eat the contract right now for another year or 2 before you can cut him. Nate Solder, you have to get rid of. Leonard Williams is at a high cap it. Let me be real with you. Leonard Williams is probably the most overpaid defensive. Okay, let me rephrase that. I said I wouldn't say overpaid. Overvalued defensive end in the league. A couple of years ago when he had 8.5, 9 sacks, whatever, 3 of the sacks came in one game. You're telling me a third of his sack production from a couple of years back that got him this contract came in one damn game? That doesn't really impress me. You're essentially paying $18+ million for now 16 games of a guy who's an average defensive end who shouldn't be getting paid that much for what his production is. If he had a better year this year, I'll shut up. But from memory, that's what I think of Leonard Williams. The linebacking core, Dame, you can test this. I don't think the linebacking core is that great. I think the only strong unit of this team is the defensive back crew. And it doesn't matter if the front 7 can't get to the quarterback on a more than enough consistent basis. And it also doesn't matter if your offense sucks. So I don't know what head coach would even want to take this job. I understand the idea of it's New York. You can play around because you do have the two top 10 picks this year. But kind of like Dame said, when you get 2 top 10 picks in a year where there's not a good quarterback, man, it's what do you even do? Now, granted, Daniel Jones is so bad that I think the Giants can use these picks to help improve the team, and they'll still be a top 5 pick caliber team next year, because Daniel Jones there is no amount of elevation on the roster that will elevate Daniel Jones that much. So I just think if you're Mara, you kind of have to just accept the fact that whoever you're bringing in this time, you need to give whoever comes next a window here, because this is nowhere near a 2 to 3 year turnaround. It's just not. Dame said it best. I think of all the situations of these teams, this is the worst one. And I can't believe I'm saying that about this team. I think this is the worst situation of all the teams that we're going to talk about that need new head coaches today.
And to play devil's advocate, Jurg, I agree with you. Daniel Jones is not it, but I did think he had a decent season for his standards. I don't think he was that bad.
Man.
He's not it, but
his ceiling is Kirk Cousins, and he's still nowhere near that.
But I didn't think he had a bad year. I actually think some of the Giants' flaws this year wasn't because of him, as opposed to, obviously,
we said the same thing about Sam Darnold, and how'd that work out?
I don't know, bro.
Let's just move on.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, I'm just trying to be.
It's kind of time. I will say, whoever the next GM is, if they pick up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option, I will laugh my ass off.
But that's doubtful because, don't new owners and new coaches kind of want their own QB?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think whoever it is, I think they might let it ride out for this year, like I said, because the quarterback class is so ass, and they'll go for next year where it's a lot better.
All right.
Honestly, would you consider? No in-depth answer here because we want to keep it moving, but would you consider a 3rd or 3rd-round pick on a quarterback this year? Just to have
something like that. Yeah. Something like that. Because
Fromm and Glennon were terrible.
But my top 10 picks, the 2 top 10 picks I have, the premium picks, where I could get a bona fide star at a different position. I'm gonna use those. But a 2nd, 3rd-round pick, something like that. I definitely use on a quarterback that I would like, because you need to bring something inside that quarterback room because it's ass.
Yeah. Yeah, you just pull some like Davis Mills shit, bro. Like
Yeah,
he's doing.
literally, like anything helps until you find your guy.
Yeah, just beef up the O line. That's what they need to do. So whatever. All right, let's move on from the Giants. We had enough of them. All right. David Culley from the Houston Texans. Now this was always a questionable decision since it started, since the whole fiasco occurred with the Houston Texans. We just thought like, why is this man? I think he was a wide receivers coach, and he got the head coaching gig for the Texans. We don't know why, but he's gone after 1 year. Um, Jurg? Do I start off with you on this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. This one, like, yeah, the Texans finally have their first round pick this year.
I'll be quick.
Yeah. So yeah, let's keep it brief.
Yeah,
But what do you think of this?
I don't think. I'll be real with you. I don't think David Culley was ever dealt a winning hand. I don't think he should have gotten hired last year, to be honest, because I would be saying this about whoever they would have hired. David Culley was just a temporary appeasement to try to get Deshaun Watson to come back. It didn't work, and they were just like, "Well, we can't fire the guy without even letting him coach a game." So they just let him rock. And yeah, this team was competitive, especially at the end. Like I think Dame has a right point. Like I think the guys they didn't necessarily give up on David Culley, but it was just the organization. This was never their guy. This was their poor attempt to appease Deshaun Watson. That didn't even end up going well at the end of the day. And none of this is on David Culley. I feel really bad that this may be the only opportunity he ever gets because of that fact, because the Houston Texans organization have been absolute buffoons over the last couple of seasons. So I feel for the guy, but at the end of the day, if we just ignore the mitigating circumstances and just look at it, like honestly, no, I can't justify firing a guy after a year unless it's like Adam Gase kinds of bad. So I think it's the mitigating circumstances that cost him his job here. I think it was just they couldn't keep Deshaun last year, so they were just like, all right, well, we're gonna fire this guy. Nick Casario, I think he wants to get one of his guys in. Like there's already reports like so far all the names I've seen linked to the Houston Texans coaching job all have ties with the Patriots, and Nick Casario was
Shocking.
the Pats for Nick Casario was the Patriots guy right under Belichick for a long time. So like it's not surprising. Casario is now going to reform this organization in his image.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think David Culley should have been fired. Obviously his team isn't very good. They're very talent depleted from top to bottom on that roster. But I think he got the best out of them as they could. You saw them being very close in a lot of games. They play very hard. Obviously they didn't have their quarterback situation. It was really messed up, especially with Tyrod Taylor and then Davis Mills and going back and forth. So I think Culley should definitely got another year to kind of prove himself, especially because I also don't think the Texans are going to draft a quarterback this year. They have the third pick. I don't know what they're going to use it on, but like I said, like we mentioned, like this quarterback class is really bad. And unless they are using it on a quarterback that they can then pair with that new head coach, I think that's the only justifiable way they could say why you fired him. But clearly, I don't think they will be going that way. So maybe they'll hire a guy to set the culture. But I think Cully was that guy. That's why I was very confused by it. So we'll see what happens. We have to still see what happens with the whole Deshaun Watson situation. I think I remember that Deshaun Watson actually liked David Culley and they got along well. So that's something to look out
He's
for.
gone. So he's gone.
Yeah, but so Deshaun Watson's probably gone as well now. But yeah, I didn't really like this firing. I thought he did a pretty good job, and I think he definitely deserved another chance for another year.
Okay, let's move on over to our final topic of conversation in this segment. And this one seems to be the decision that caught everyone by surprise. Brian Flores, gentlemen, has been fired from the Miami Dolphins. It's shocking because I think Brian Flores is probably the main bright spot of just like the turnaround that the Dolphins had. And it's just like they start off the season really poorly and then they just won like 7 straight, I think. And if it wasn't for like maybe literally one game, they would have made the playoffs. But that's neither here nor there. But this was just shocking. So, and I looked at it. Seems that there's a report. I just looked at the report, the title of it. The Texans may be having Brian Flores at the top of their list, which would be an immense hiring and a great first step to a rebuild of just an organization, like just image wise as well, but also roster wise after that. But Dame, talk to me. Why did this happen? and what do you think of it? Where do the Dolphins go going for? Yeah, where do the Dolphins go going forward now? And where do you see Brian Flores ending up? Because he's gonna have a job eventually. I think out of all these coaches we named, Brian Flores is for sure gonna be having a job next season, a head coaching job.
I was shocked that this happened. Like more shocked than the whole Texan situation. Um, I really don't have an explanation for why it happened because it doesn't make sense to me. The Dolphins were a shit show in the NFL, and they brought in Brian Flores, and he kind of turned it all around, especially with subpar QB play. Like Tua is good. He's obviously shown a great improvement, but he wasn't a superstar quarterback, and yet Brian Flores got the best out of him and the best out of this roster for the past couple of years. So I don't know why they let him go. It really does not make sense to me unless just they know something we don't about his situation with like the quarterback or something like that. But as for where I think Brian Flores could go, like you said, the Houston Texans could be a good option. I know he has a great relationship with Deshaun Watson. The reason Deshaun Watson wanted to go to Miami was because of Brian Flores. So maybe that gets rekindled over there. They do bring in Brian Flores or something like that, but doubtful. But spot I think you should definitely look out for is the Giants. He has a lot of New York ties. I think he's from New York and stuff. So I think that would be an ideal situation for him because he obviously he's from there and stuff. But he's obviously not going to have the kind of talent he had in Miami. But when he first got to Miami, the talent was probably pretty close to what the Giants have now. So if you turn around that franchise, I think that's something definitely the Giants should go for. But this firing really does not make sense to me. He was one of the best head coaches in the league for the past couple of years, and it's an embarrassment for what the Dolphins did. But
Let me before you go on, Jurg. Before you go on, I think
Mhm.
worst case scenario for me and Dame as Jets fans, if the Giants end up hiring Brian Flores and then end up getting Bryce Young, oh my god,
it's
dog.
terrible. I'd be
Okay,
pissed.
Jurg, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to give you the three predominant reasons that are coming out. Apparently, I'm going to give you the real reason. I'm going to that has nothing to do with on-field stuff. I'm going to give you the on-the-field potential reasons that they could say, and then I'm going to give you the BS reasons. The number one off-the-field reason is the fact that Brian Flores did not have a great relationship with the Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross is known as a pretty meddlesome owner, and clearly him and Flores did not connect. They quite obviously clashed, and Brian Flores, with clashing with Stephen Ross, was also clashing with general manager Chris Greer. And the idea was that there was allegedly a bit of a power struggle. I heard one of the people I've heard talk about this is David Sampson, and David Sampson being down predominantly in South Beach for a majority of his sports management career. He knows that area so well. He knows the idea of management so well, and he spoke a lot about this. And it's pretty obvious that the idea that there was a power struggle between Chris Greer and Flores, where Flores wanted as much control as he could with this team because he wanted to try to build this team in his image, because I think he knows that he is a big reason why they've been as good as they have been the last 2 years. And clearly Flores just lost out on it, and to Greer and Stephen Ross. That I think is a lot of behind the scenes off the field stuff there. On the field, the only on the field justification as to why you could have fired Brian Flores is the fact that if you're a Chris Greer, you put your job on the line with drafting Tua. You need Tua to be a success, because as general managers in football, Dame, Chris, what is the number one selection looking back that people will grade any of your GM tenures? What quarterback decision did you make? And with drafting Tua at number 5, when Herbert went the very next pick, and we've seen how good Herbert has been, Chris Greer will always be linked to the fact that he selected Tua. So, because of that, he needs to ensure that Tua can be as successful as possible. And Brian Flores, for all the good he's done, the only failure of his tenure on the field is the fact that he could never get that offense going properly. He could never get it to click with Tua. Whether that be personal choice, maybe he just wasn't that big of a Tua guy after they've really gone through it, or his own choices. Because let's be real here, the offensive coordinator choices have not been good. They essentially had 2 offensive coordinators last year, which is not healthy, which is not a good balanced offense. And the year before that, they had Chan bleeping Gailey in the NFL in 2020. Like, no, you're not going to succeed like that. So I think that's the on the field reason, ultimately, if you have to justify it that way. And the final reason that has nothing to do with, and this is a pure smear campaign by Stephen Ross, and this is typical owners' PR moves, that after the Dolphins fired him and they saw the backlash they got, they immediately went into defense mode. And now you're hearing all the stories about how Brian Flores was not, quote unquote, a nice guy backstage. I'm not going to defend him for all, because I think some of the stories have some merit to them, some of them don't. Nothing completely heinous, but it's just him being the typical hard-ass coach, being a Belichick disciple, and him, kind of acting a little bit bigger than he is sometimes. And albeit why normally I am against it, and I don't think he's all that, This is also the same coach that gave you the 2 most successful seasons since the turn of the century. This is since the year 2005, the Dolphins have had 4 seasons above 500. 2 of them Brian Flores was the head coach of. You fire this guy? Because he was mean. Oh my God, F off with this entire organization at this point. I'm so sick of Stephen Ross. I'm so sick of this team. Like, whoever they hire next, honestly, I hope they go like 3-14 next season because I'm so done. Like, the Dolphins, people get at the Jets a lot. No, the Dolphins, I think you could argue, are the worst organization when you really break it down in the AFC East over however many years you want to say, because this is just an absolute joke. Like, the Jets have been hopeless. At least when you're hopeless, you stay hopeless. This team tries to fake hope every single year, and they just disappoint you. And now they fire the most successful coach there's been, and now they're trying to start this whole thing. If you want to know who the next Dolphins head coach is going to be, I don't care if Stephen Ross has denied it. It's going to be Jim Harbaugh. Lock it in. Like, I'm convinced it's going to be Jim Harbaugh without a shadow of a doubt. Like, there is no way. The only reason that they're not going to announce it now is because they technically have to interview at least one minority coach to avoid getting fined or losing draft picks to the Rooney Rule. I guarantee you, give it some time, it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. I guarantee you.
All right.
Well, you got some inside information from ESPN.
All right, Jurg the GOAT.
Hold on, let me
Jurg
say that
bomb.
right now. None of this is inside info. I'm not trying to lose my job here. This is all opinion.
Jurg bomb. All right. Yeah, so that'll do it for that segment. Now, fellas, we move on to the main event. NFL playoffs start. They start Saturday, and we got some games to look forward to. I gotta say, man, I'm excited for most of these games. There's like one or two that I really, don't care about, but that they might supersede expectations. But let's get into it. You guys want to start with the AFC or NFC? Let's start with the AFC. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now, let's start off with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's right, the Bengals in the playoffs against the Las Vegas Raiders, who barely made it to the playoffs. Fellas, I would say this is one of the more evenly matched matchups in the first round. I think this is going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be a really fun one because there's like neither team is better than the other by like a large amount. But Joe Burrow, everyone's new favorite quarterback, Jamar Chase, we're seeing an offensive heavy Bengals team that has caught fire. That has caught fire in the first round that may honestly make the divisional round, if I'm not mistaken, to be honest, which would be a hell of an achievement for Joe Burrow. But let's not count out the Raiders here. Derek Carr finally makes the playoffs after a thrilling Chargers win. Now, we'll start with Jurg here. Jurg, It's very simple. Who do you think is going to win? How do you think the game's going to go? Do you think it'll be a good game? And yeah, that's mostly it. I mean, unless you have other additional comments.
I think this will be a good game. I think Derek Carr versus Joe Burrow is interesting because this is the first career playoff game for both guys. Because while the Raiders did make the playoffs one other time with Derek Carr, remember, he got hurt in, I believe it was the regular season finale, and he did not get to play that game. So this is Derek Carr's first career playoff game. This is Joe Burrow's first career playoff game. I think this is two quarterbacks that, it's exciting. Derek Carr, I think has always been underrated. I think he's been overhated at times by certain people. And I think he's extremely talented. Joe Burrow, meanwhile, I think we all understand and know this guy is the catalyst to the Bengals' success this season. The fact that he's been able to stay upright has been phenomenal. And him and Jamar Chase, him and T. Higgins, and him and Tyler Boyd, like just you're talking about an offensive skill position out. The Bengals are set for years to come, and I think they're going to be a dangerous team for years going forward. And I think you guys know where I'm going with this selection. I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders to win this football game. I think the Raiders, unlike certain other teams, I think this game being as close as it is on paper, I think is one of the reasons why I think Vegas has a shot. But I think it's the defense. This Vegas Raiders team, boys, has been kind of sneaky here and there defensively this season. And I think there's enough pass rush on this team when you look at the guys who can help create pressure on Joe Burrow. And that's ultimately the number one thing. Can you create pressure on Joe Burrow? Yes, there's the talent there, but can you kind of stop him in the Bengals offense for being as smooth as it is? And Yannick Ngakoue had 10 sacks this season. Max Crosby may have only had 8, but this dude is one of the best quarterback pressuring defensive ends in the NFL. And I think that the two of them are so good. The rest of the defense is just good enough. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Like, this Raiders team, man, is coming off momentum, and I think that overtime win against the Chargers, if they had tied, I wouldn't be picking them in their playoff game. But I think because they won for that game, they went for it. They showed a little bit of something. They beat the Colts the week before. Man, I think this Raiders team, I'm not saying they're going to go on a run, but I think they could win a game. And I think they are actually going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm shocked you only said that because I do think the Raiders have a really good chance to win this game. I'm not going to go as far as to pick them because I do have the Bengals in this game. But I would not be surprised if the Raiders, this would be one of the games where the lower seed beats the higher seed because the Bengals obviously are inexperienced. They haven't been here. Neither have the Raiders, but I kind of trust Derek Carr a little more than Joe Burrow. And like you said, the Raiders have been hot. They've won their last 4 games. I know the Bengals kind of sad their starters last week. That's why they lost. But compared to what the Raiders have been doing, they've been toughing out every game. They played in a lot of close games that they've gone through and won. So they've been through that adversity and those struggles, and they've learned how to win those kind of games. So I would not be surprised if the Raiders do turn around and beat the Bengals in this game. But I just think the Bengals have too much firepower that the Raiders just can't match. From Jamar Chase to T. Higgins to Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow. I just think that's going to be too much for the Raiders' offense to handle because I think the Bengals are going to put up points no matter what. And I just don't think the Raiders are going to be able to match them in that category.
That's fair, but I'm telling you, man, I have faith in this. And first off, hail be it to the Raiders coin this season that has been pretty good with the predictions. And they have broken off and they've beaten the prediction a couple times. So I do think the Las Vegas Raiders do have a chance here. Just I understand Joe Burrow, like this Cincinnati offense is home run, but here's the thing: if they have a couple possessions, if they play the right kind of coverage, and they can kind of limit what the Bengals can do here, I don't know, man. I think there's some danger in that when it comes to Cincinnati. Like, yes, being a home run offense is great. I know they lead the league in 20+ yard touchdowns this season, but if they can't get some of those big gains here, man, oof, I think if they have to force this to being more an intermediate range game, I think that's more in Vegas's favor here. I really do.
Yeah. Great points from both parties. I'm going to say this, though. I'm a big believer in like momentum, especially leading to the NFL playoffs. And I believe the Raiders were winners of 4 straight,
Yes, sir.
which I think, I think you give truth serum to like the Bucks players, the Bucks team last year. They caught fire at the second half of the season, and I think that really helped them, in their playoff run. And I think the Bengals, while they did beat the Chiefs, I think the following week, dudes kind of took off. Burrow wasn't playing, and add that to like their first time in the playoffs. And I know the Raiders kind of follow like a similar, path, being kind of new to the playoffs as well recently, of course. But I don't know. I just think the momentum being on their side is going to help. So I think I'm gonna go with the Raiders on this one. I think
Ooh,
I'm not
Ooh.
sure,
about
man.
myself, huh?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Like I want the Bengals to win because I love Joe Burrow and I love Jamar Chase. But that's nothing against Derek Carr because I think Derek Carr looks like a really good human being, and I'm happy for him, especially with all the shit that the Raiders had to deal with this season. It would be a good Cinderella story, but like it's hard to root against either of these teams. But I could see the Raiders winning, and I just think it's the momentum that they've built. So yeah, predicting Raiders, hoping for the Bengals. I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna help when I bet for this weekend, which is legal now. All right, let's move on over to what game should we go? What do you guys?
Pats,
in the
Bills.
move? Pats Bills. All right, Pats Bills. You're right because those are the
All
games
the
that are gonna
schedules.
happen on Saturday. Now this one, man, this is hard to to predict. Dame, let me start off with you, buddy. Yeah, basically the same thing as Jurg. Who do you think is going to win? How do you think the game's going to play out? Just a side note for the listeners here. It will be 10 degrees in Buffalo when the game occurs. And that's not counting how it may feel. It may feel like -5. Who knows? But 10 degrees, I think both parties are used to the cold weather. But I don't think Mac Jones is. I think Mac Jones got a taste of it earlier in the season, but now it's playoff atmosphere. But again, look, I know a lot of people are saying Bills, but this is Bill Belichick in the playoffs. William Belichick, the master of the dark arts in the playoffs. Dame, what do we think is going to happen?
I'm gonna go with the Bills in this game. I think it's gonna be a very low scoring game. Hopefully, it's not like the game where it was that big blizzard in Buffalo because that was just a horrendous game to watch. And the regular season, it's whatever, but no one wants to watch that in the postseason. It'd be very boring. So if it's cold but there's no snow or anything like that, then it'll be a pretty good game. I just think at the end of the day, I'm going with Josh Allen over Mac Jones. Mac Jones hasn't proven to me that he can go out there and win a playoff game. Bill Belichick has. The Patriots defense has, but Mac Jones has. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Mac Jones making a couple plays or a few plays, and I just don't think he's going to be able to get it done. On the other hand, do I trust Josh Allen to make those plays? Not really, because he hasn't really shown to be capable of being a trustworthy quarterback, although he's super talented. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely going to trust Josh Allen over Mac Jones, and I just think Josh Allen at the end of the day is going to make more plays to win the game for his team than Mac Jones will.
Fair, fair. I'm going to go the other way. Once again, I'm going to be the ultimate contrarian here. I got the Patriots winning. I think this is the moment Bill Belichick has been waiting for, and I think he's going to stab everyone in the heart right here, thinking that the Patriots dynasty was dead. Um, Belichick, we've always said that he's a master at taking away what you're good at, and all he needs to do is neutralize Josh Allen's ability to be a dual threat here, because the Bills, I think their rushing offense has been a little bit over-exaggerated of how bad they are, but if Josh Allen can't help create plays for the running game, I think it's over. I think it's a wrap. And this is a situation where I just think that Bill Belichick is going to just game plan the living hell out of this game. I think he's going to be able to fix what went wrong in New England, and I just think he's going to figure this one out. If there's any head coach that you give him a third chance at you, it's going to be rough. It's going to be Bill Belichick. And yes, I like the thing in the playoffs is that we always talk about your quarterbacks making plays. Let's be real here. The last couple of years, it's not always about your quarterbacks making plays. The Bills last season almost lost because of the running game, because a rookie Jonathan Taylor nearly ran them out the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs lost the Super Bowl. The Green Bay Packers lost in the NFC Championship game because of the front fours, because of the stellar defensive line play by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that their offensive lines were completely injured to hell and back. Like, I think it's more than just the quarterback here. I don't think it's going to be all on Mac Jones. I think maybe here and there he's going to have to make a play, but at the end of the day, I think the Patriots are going to be able to protect him, and I think they have the rushing offense too. I got the upset here. I got another upset. I got the Patriots in this one.
Yeah, this is tough. This is really tough, but I think I might go with the Pats too, man. I just think Bill Belichick is made for for these type of games, bro, and he's finally back in the playoffs. I don't know. Josh Allen's never had to go through a Bill Belichick in playoff mode. You know what? Let's go. Let's get this out of the way. Steelers versus the Chiefs. All right, let's not take too much time on this. Jurg, why do you think it's gonna be the Chiefs?
You know, Chris, this is the last of my holy trinity of my close friends, Ben Roethlisberger, man, in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization.
God damn.
How can I go against my guys? You know, it kind of feels dirty doing this. The Chiefs are going to destroy them by 3 touchdowns. Move on. Just move on.
Big Ben is the quarterback of the Steelers. I got nothing else to say.
All right. Wow. All right. God damn. All right. I guess we move on. I mean, I hope this game needs to be done by the first quarter, man. Chiefs cannot clown around, bro. They cannot. Please, that's all I'm asking. Just end this by the first quarter or first half, and we can move on. All right. I think that's it for the AFC. All right, let's move on over to the NFC, guys. I think we got some pretty interesting games for this one. Let's start off with the Bucks Eagles. I think a lot of people, like, obviously, I'm assuming that we're all going to be in unison that the Bucks are going to win this one. I do think a lot of people are counting out the Eagles. I think this might be a closer game than expected. I don't know. Dame, am I wrong on that?
No, I actually think the Eagles are going to give the Bucks a lot of trouble. You saw it last year when the Bucks played the Washington football team with Taylor Heineke. Heineke gave him a lot of trouble, and I think that's going to happen this year as well. The Eagles' defense is really good. It was always just Jalen Hurts. The thing that was holding this team back is Jalen Hurts' passing ability. But on the other hand, his rushing ability is one of the best in the league, second to probably Lamar Jackson. And he could possess a lot of problems for that Bucks defense, which really gets after the pass rusher. But if he can escape out of the pocket and make plays with his legs, like, he gives that defense a lot of trouble. And especially for this game, I think the Eagles defense will give Tom Brady a lot of trouble. I know they obviously played him in the Super Bowl and he threw for a lot of yards, but it's a completely different story now. They have a lot of key guys still, like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham on the defensive line. But I think especially with Brady missing AB and Godwin, that's going to hurt a lot. This is not the same offense that was in the Super Bowl last year or even started the year this year. So I think that's going to possess a lot of troubles for Brady, especially if the Eagles can really get after him real quick. It's going to be hard for these wide receivers to get open outside of Mike Evans. But Darius Slay of the Eagles has been playing at a whole different level this year. So I think he's going to give a lot of trust for Mike Evans. So it's going to come down to these secondary receivers for the Bucs if they can get open and they can make plays for Tom Brady, because I think Jalen Hurts is going to possess a lot of problems for this Bucs defense, and the Bucs are going to need to score points to win this game.
Yeah, I agree with Dame. I think Jalen Hurts has the potential to really cause a lot of problems here, and I think this could be a closer game than we're all thinking. I just think last year, like we saw with this Tampa Bay team, I don't think this is the game that's going to trip them up. I think the Eagles are a threat. I think they're relatively dangerous, but I don't think this is the game that trips up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think you got to look more towards the divisional round for that to happen. At the end of the day, I will go with the Buccaneers, but I don't think it will be a blowout here. We're not really predicting scores, kind of like what we did last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a 33-24 type game, maybe something along those lines. Just like the Eagles are going to put up some points, but I think Tampa's just going to do enough. Tom Brady, I just don't see Tom Brady losing. I know he's lost in the wild card. Let me clarify that because we saw it happen a couple of years ago with the Titans, but just I think it's Tampa Bay here. I really do.
Yeah, really. Bold take there, fellas. Bold take. All right.
Okay, contrarian, what are you going to go with?
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping the Eagles win this. I would love to see Brady get bounced in the first round, man. Fuck that. All right, let's move on over to, and I can't wait to get Dame's take on this. But Jurg,
I'm going with the Bucks.
I'm gonna I'm going with the Bucks.
Okay.
I'm gonna start off with you on this one, Jurg. Cowboys versus Niners. Yeah, talk to me.
First off, the history. I saw this at work today. The history between these two teams in the playoffs is just. It's a story to be told. There have been some battles between the San Francisco 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys in years past. And I think the stat was, of all the times these two teams have faced in the playoffs, 5 times the winner of this game has advanced to win the Super Bowl. So, just saying. It's interesting because the Dallas Cowboys, I also saw the stat earlier this week, they are the first team in NFL history to have the following happen for their team in a season. A quarterback throw for 4,000 passing yards, a running back rush for 1,000 rushing yards, a receiver get 1,000 receiving yards, a defense player to get 10 sacks, and another defense player to get 10 interceptions. Wild. I think the Cowboys are pretty talented. I think Dak Prescott really showed out this year that he should have always been paid. Like, I think Jerry Jones wasted so much time and gave ESPN and all these other sports media companies all that airtime on whether they should pay Dak or not. Clearly was just made for TV, because at the end of the day, I think he eventually understood that Dak can get to that next level here and there. It's not always for full, stretch of time, but I think relatively speaking, Dak is relatively good. I've defended him more than I probably thought I would ever, because he's a Dallas Cowboy. But I think this team is offensively gifted, and I think the defense has impressed this year. If Michael Parsons is 100% ready to go, I think it's going to cause problems. But the San Francisco 49ers, man, they're a very dangerous team. I think Deebo Samuel is one of the most electric players in football. I think he's one of the most talented and gifted offensive players in the game in general, regardless of position. I think the running game, Kyle Shanahan I've said this once, I'll say it again, he can scheme anyone to get at least like 50 to 60 yards for you. Any of us could get like 7 yards a carry on like a couple carries here and there in that San Francisco 49ers offense if we were, athletic, fit, and have been playing football since the age of 4. I think the defense on that San Francisco team is underrated sometimes. I think it's a pretty great defense. I think the Cowboys are not exactly 100% offense. And Trevon Diggs, man, like, I know he had the 10 interceptions. I know I think at our midseason awards, I think I had him as my defensive player of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta say, he has all the interceptions, but man, he's gotten burned a couple times this season. Micah Parsons is phenomenal, but I think Kyle Shanahan's going to be ready for him. And I think the running game is so unique that I don't think Parsons will always have his amazing effect on every play. I think he'll have some plays, but I don't think it'll be every single play. At the end of the day, it's a close game. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this comes down to whoever has the ball last wins. I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers to get the victory here, because at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan versus Mike McCarthy, I do not like Mike McCarthy at all. I just don't. So I'm going to run with San Fran here, taking this one. I was a lot higher than I think most people were at the start of the season for them. I still believed in them, like about midway through the season when they were below 500 at week 10. I always believed in this team. I felt that they would get this far. And now that they're here, let's stick with these guns and let's get an upset playoff win up in here, boys.
I think this is probably the most anticipated game in the entire playoffs. I think if you had to choose one game that you needed to watch, I think it'd be this game, because these teams are so evenly matched, and they're so good of two good teams. Like compared to like the say on the other side with the Raiders and the Bengals, like that's an evenly matched up teams. But I just don't think either team is as good as the 49ers or the Cowboys. Here we are, and I think a lot of people are saying the 49ers are the most dangerous team in the playoffs, and no one wants to see them and stuff. And I do agree. I don't think any of these teams really want to see the Niners because they're so hot, and that defense is one of the best in the league. But I'm gonna go with the Cowboys in this game. I'm just gonna go based off the fact that I'm gonna trust Dak Prescott more than I trust Jimmy G. I know Jimmy G really came up big in that Rams game, but then again, at the same time, it was basically a home game for them. I don't know if you saw a lot of these videos and audios. Like LA was booming for the San Francisco 49ers. Like that was really a home game for them. But now he's going to a hostile environment in Dallas where, trust me, I've been there when that crowd is into the game and it gets loud in there. Like that crowd gets crazy. And they're going to be all over Jimmy G in that offense and making it tough for them to really communicate to each other. And I think at the end of the day, the Cowboys defense, who has been making plays all year, is going to make one more play than the 49ers defense is going to make. At the end of the day, like you said, they do think it's going to come down to a final possession, something like that. And I just think the Cowboys defense is going to make that one stop of the 49ers offense that the 49ers defense won't be able to make of the Cowboys offense.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. So, name you're going Cowboys?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think I'm leaning towards the Cowboys as well, but I would not be shocked if the Niners win. I'm pretty sure none of us would be mad if the Niners won. But
I would. I hate them.
More than the Cowboys?
Yes, I don't hate the Cowboys.
All right. Okay.
Cool team.
It's a
their
battle.
Their fans are a little crazy. That's about it. But the team I don't hate.
It's a battle of which of Damien's friends annoy him the most between the
Yeah.
Niners
Yeah,
and the Cowboys.
literally.
All right. And I think we'll get to our last game, I believe.
Yes, sir. Monday. I think the first ever playoff Monday Night Football.
Nice. Arguably, this could arguably be the best game out of all of them. The Rams versus the Cardinals. Dame, talk to me, bud. This has potential to be the best one. And I think this could go either way. But Dame, who do you got?
I do think this could possibly be the best one as well. We have a lot of good games, man. Like it's hard to choose the best one.
Love
and maybe they're keeping it till Monday, so screw it. At least they didn't put like the Chiefs or Steelers on Monday because that would have been really bad.
Thank God.
So at least they gave us a really good game for Monday. Man, I was going back and forth on this because it's so hard to choose between these two teams because they're so evenly matched. But I'm just gonna go with the Rams. I just don't trust Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. They haven't been the same team they were in the first half of the season to the second half of the season. I don't even know if DeAndre Hopkins is playing. So if he does play, obviously it will help them. If he doesn't play, that favors me even more in my pick. But I'm going to trust Matthew Stafford over Kyle Murray in these kind of situations. I know Stafford hasn't been proven that much, but I think he's a really tough competitor, and he's been, I think, the highest rated quarterback in the fourth quarter, something like that. So he's really clutched this season. Obviously, he wasn't against the Niners, but that was just one game. And I think now going into the playoffs, Sean McVay especially, I think he's going to have a really good game plan for that Cardinals defense, which is really good. But I think they're going to have enough offensive plays made by Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham in that running game to overcome what the Cardinals offense is going to be able to do. And I think at the end of the day, the Rams are going to win this game.
You know, Dame, I think the most interesting thing about this game, and honestly, I didn't even realize it until you were talking about it and giving your breakdown. I haven't seen any news updates about DeAndre Hopkins because there was hope. They were really hopeful that he could probably come back for the playoffs. And no D-Hop, no Cards victory. I got the Los Angeles Rams winning this one here.
We agreed on something.
I think. Well, we agreed on something that's not completely obvious, like the other game.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, first off, first career playoff W for Matthew Stafford, if it's the case, well deserved. For serving all that prison time he did in Detroit for the first decade plus of his career. I think the thing is that the Rams, they're coming into this one. Yes, I know it was a heartbreaker against San Francisco, but division games are just weird, man. And the Seahawks, the Cardinals losing to the Seahawks, like that just leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. It just really does. I think this Rams team, the talent offensively is there. I think Odell, a lot of people have tried to criticize him. He's played his role well. And I think Odell more ingratiated into this offense compared to what he was. Because I think his first game with the team, funny enough, it was that Cardinals game on Monday Night Football, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he's gotten more used to this offense. Cooper Kupp, of course, is still amazing. Van Jefferson is that deep threat. Sony Michel's been impressive this season with the running game. And I think this defense, man, they got to Kyler Murray last time. I don't see any reason why they can't do that again. Aaron Donald, Von Miller are absolute beasts. Jalen Ramsey can shut down one side of the field if he so chooses, and he probably will. At the end, and especially with no real bona fide number one, at the end of the day, I just think that this Rams team has everything going for it. I just think that the momentum is theirs. They're both coming off losses, so I know it's kind of hard to say that, but I just think that the Rams, like you said, Dame, I think, and I'm going to use the same argument that I used with the Pats-Bills game, just McVay or Cliff Kingsbury. I got to run with McVay because these Cliff Kingsbury teams, man, the last 3 seasons, more so the last 2. Year 1 was just, year 1, but the last 2 seasons, man, they falter at the end. Like this team started 7-0, and they finished 5-5. Which team are you really when you think about it? Are you the 7-0 team, or are you the 5-5 team we've seen for a longer stretch of time? Arizona. I think this one belongs to the LA Rams. If I'm going to give the Cardinals a shot, then it's just got to be Kyler Murray just playing at an MVP caliber level, and he's just got to be that. This would have to be one of those like games you remember of his career. Like he just went off and he won the game by himself. But I don't know if the Rams are just going to let that easily happen. So I'm going with Los Angeles here to take down the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think we'll complete the hat trick. I'm also going to go with the Rams. They should win. Yeah, I don't think Hopkins is going to be ready for this game. But yeah, shout out Matt Stafford if he does win this game. First playoff win, like Jurg said. And, it's Super Bowl or bust for the Rams. After all the trades they made, they have to at this point. So yeah, I think that's it. There's no other playoff games I'm not missing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that'll be it for this week, fellas. Playoff season, there's nothing like it. You guys, amazing takes as always. Jurg, where can they find us on the socials?
You guys already know it's the SomeWhat.Sports Instagram page to follow us. We're going to be active during these playoffs. We're going to continue our predictions because the season is not over. The regular season did end, so if you want to separate it, it's your choice. If you're going to combine it like we are, it's our choice. But the regular season SomeWhatSports Podcast NFL predictions have ended, but it's postseason time, boys. It's the most important time of the year, and we'll see who gets the better of it this go around. Of course, big landmark for the pod last year was last year's NFL predictions. Look at this. 1 year later, we're still at, well over 1 year in the pod, but 1 year later, this is our second set of NFL predictions, boys. Brings a tear to my eye. So make sure you follow the SomeWhat.Sports IG page. We're going to be, posting some polls during the games. Going to be posting the predictions, of course. It's going to be awesome. And of course, if you're listening to this, you're of course listening to us presently on YouTube at SomeWhat Sports YouTube page. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Give the gift of the new year. Make that your New Year's resolution. Share the best sports podcast in the world to the people you know and care about.
Amen. Let's run through brick walls together. Yeah. Beautiful as always, Jurg. Damien and Jurg, thank you as always. To all our listeners listening, if you made it this far, thank you so much. And until next time, peace.
Peace.